I, it still falls short. If you follow even the campaigns outside of these manifestos, if you follow the campaigns, there's a lot of emphasis on the economic issues, the economic challenges, job creation, and that's important, especially if you think about all of the challenges that we have faced over the last couple of years. I can see why trying to fully restore the economy and getting it back on track would engage the energies of the two political parties. Again, and if I should go back to Afrobarometer, I can see why jobs become very important. If you look at Afrobarometer over 9 rounds, unemployment and job creation has always emerged 5 times out of the 9 times as the number one most important problem for Ghanaians. So I do understand the emphasis on that. But I think if you also look at a lot of the good governance and democracy indices over the last couple of years again, for me, and as the CDD is saying, you cannot also not make governance issues a core or a key center part of this year's election, right? So everything that Afrobarometer has captured, the democracy index, the VDEM Institute, freedom in the world, you name it all. There's a point of convergence that says there are some real challenges with our democratic architecture and with our governance architecture. And for me, that is what I'm still yet to see the really quote unquote bold solutions that says, here's how you tackle some of those key governance issues. So let me give you a couple of examples. So for example, if you look at just Ghana, and if you look at 9 rounds of Afrobarometer, 6 key challenges as I identified last year comes up. Weak, growing perception of corruption in institutions, low levels of trust in institutions, a growing perception that people in office get away when they commit crimes versus ordinary people, a growing feeling that our elected representatives do not listen, growing dissatisfaction with democracy, right? The Democracy Project had a meeting at CDD earlier on this year with representatives of the political parties. And one of the things we encouraged them to do was to come up with a democracy pledge and make it as part of their manifestos, in which some of the challenges that we identify, that they pledge specific ways that they would address it.
Exactly.
Yes. I mean, yes, I'll give credit to the NPP manifesto. So, for example, one of the things that caught my attention was this idea that they would pass a Corrupt Practices Act, where they're pooling all the different institutions, rules, regulations that is designed to address corruption into one.
I have heard the best of lawyers whose law can sink a ship. Is Nkrumah says we have all the good laws in this country. And as far as corruption is concerned, once again, we have some of the best laws. But where are we? You are complaining about unprecedented widening corruption.
Right. And so my point is, in recognition of that, I'm pointing that out to say maybe there's still that one thing that, I mean, the idea caught my attention because, sometimes you get into this, well, it's outside of my jurisdiction. Well, this issue should go to that agency, or this other person is more suited to address this issue of corruption that has emerged. So who knows? Maybe when you pull it all together, the clarity that it brings, the certainty in terms of the points of where you fight corruption, may help. So that's one. There's the issue of going back to this election of MMDCs in responding to, the governance issue. So there are some of these governance proposals to address some of these challenges.
Prof, when you look at the Movement for Change, Alan Chamantin's group,
yes.
Now the umbrella group is the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. They take the District Assembly's issue head on. And I know you know my interest in that area. The CDD survey and Ghanaians, generally said, we don't want it the way Akufo-Addo wanted it. Make it partisan. We should use what other countries have done, which is also lasting, non-partisan. The CDD survey confirms that Ghanaians want it non-partisan. The Alan Group say, we will do it the way Ghanaians say they want it. President Akufo-Addo stopped the referendum to avoid Ghanaians voting to say we don't want it to be partisan. Why is it that Bawumia cannot say that categorically in this manifesto, but he's talking about doing consultations? Which consultations again?
I'm not inside Dr. Bawumia's head. Perhaps he's yet to sort of figure out all of the specific details in how he wants to approach the reform of the local governance system. So maybe he's not yet at the position, and this is just my speculation, maybe he's just not at the position where he wants to categorically say this approach is better than this approach, or this is my preferred approach in how we go about with reforming the local governance.
No, I'm talking about the people, what the people say they want. On this issue, does it sound like buy one Bawumia, get another Akufo-Addo free?
No, but you're right. I mean, the research is clear. The people have made it very clear what their preference is. Now, as to why he still wants further, consultation with all of the stakeholders, perhaps is to convince them otherwise that this other approach may work.
Does that not also say there's no clear commitment and intention to prosecute that agenda?
I don't think so. The commitment is there. For it to have made its way into the manifesto, for me, is a promise that says, I want to do this. Now, as to how specifically I want to do it, time will tell. But okay. I don't think it undermines his commitment to wanting to see some kind of local government reform.
Okay, so let me ask you this question now. What some people may be asking or may have asked, and our job here is to mirror what the public is thinking. Is it fair? This is a manifesto of the NPP, correct?
Yes.
The NPP is the government now.
Yes.
You have introduced e-levy.
Mm-hmm.
Ghanaians fought against it. And through the minority, you keep blaming the minority for fighting against e-levy. Then now you are saying, I will scrap e-levy. You brought upon us unprecedented, historic 126 or 7 ministers. Then you have reduced to 85. You say, when I come, I'll give you 50 ministers. You are currently implementing betting tax. Your opponent says, I will scrap it. You come to tell me, I will scrap it. President Akufo-Addo says, vote for Bawumia because he has a better vision. The NPP say, support Bawumia because he has a better vision. Why are they not implementing what they want to be implemented only when Bawumia is voted into office, if?
Right, but Samson, in all fairness too, I'm sure if we look at the NPP's time in government in this Fourth Republic, right, there are some things that were core to former President Kufuor's government that President Akufo-Addo has done differently. Yes, maybe some of the core principles and ideas would have been the same, but he's also pursued different policies, although it's coming from the same party. Yes, Dr. Bawumia is the vice president, and he's part of a government that implemented the e-levy, for example, right? But that was done under the Akufo-Addo administration. Now he says, Bawumia, under a Bawumia presidency and another NPP government, I have a different approach. I want to rethink the e-levy. I want to approach it differently.
Doc, this manifesto,
so again,
this manifesto is not Bawumia's manifesto. It's the NPP's manifesto. The NPP,
but
the NPP have generated this manifesto. The sitting president endorses it and says the things there are good. They are bold solutions. They are superior to what John Mahama is offering. Why is he not implementing them? That's the question.
But Samson, you also two key things. One, it's the NPP's manifesto that will be implemented under a Bawumia presidency.
That's correct.
So I don't necessarily expect that all of the things under an Akufo-Addo presidency would repeat itself under a Bawumia presidency. If he sees some of those things differently, if he thinks about some of those things differently, e-levy being an example. Yes, I know the vice president has been in a difficult position in terms of not having said much about the e-levy during the introduction, implementation, and all of that. That's one. Two, he's the vice president. Yes, I know that that the narrative has come up that well, you are now vice president. You are part of the government. Why don't you do all of these things? I mean, realistically, it's not his administration. Yes, he has a voice. Yes, he can give an input, but it is not his presidency. And so even if he wants some things done, ultimately...
Why, Doc? Akufo-Addo doesn't want these bold solutions? He doesn't want the best of things?
Of course he wants the best of things.
So he should do them. That's the question people are asking. He should just do them. Reducing the cost of data, bringing down the cost of living crisis. He should just do them. That's all they are saying.
Yes, it is Akufo-Addo's presidency, right? Ultimately, he's the president. He sets the priorities. Bawumia is saying these are good ideas. The party is saying these are good ideas. But these are good ideas that I will be able to implement under a Bawumia presidency. I mean, yes, he has 4 months, as vice president. My point is that an Akufo-Addo presidency has a different set of policy priorities than a Bawumia presidency would have. Yes, I'm sure that there will be some policy continuity, like free SHS, but he also wants to implement some of his own ideas. And I think I understand the politics of that narrative that do it now because you're vice president, but it really doesn't work that way. Okay. I mean, think about the US. Kamala Harris is promising a number of things she will do as president. And there can also be that temptation of, well, you are the VP now, why don't you do them? But the reality is that it doesn't necessarily work that way. I mean, this government may believe that you need the e-levy. Bawumia believes you don't. So how then do you get him to scrap the e-levy now?
Thank you, Doc.